Thank you, Mr. Rafaran, and to the members of Leaders pour la Paix for the invitation to join you today. It's an honor to speak with you on behalf of Secretary Blinken on a theme that is of particular importance to him, to President Biden, and to this administration: the United States' commitment to the multilateral system and its foundational values. From day one of his administration, President Biden sent a clear message to the world. The United States will recommit to our alliances and partnerships and revitalize them to meet the challenges of our time. And he followed those words with action by rejoining the Paris Climate Accord, re-engaging the World Health Organization, joining the Human Rights Council, and re-engaging with our NATO allies and European partners, especially the EU. We recognize that the biggest challenges facing the United States and the world are transnational in nature and must be tackled collectively through global partnerships and through international organizations such as the United Nations, NATO, the World Health Organization, and others. We also recognize that our rules-based order is increasingly challenged and threatened by strategic challengers like China and Russia. It is essential that we continue working with our European partners to uphold a multilateral system that reflects our shared values and remains faithful to these international institutions' original missions. China, in particular, has been taking steps that undermine core precepts and norms within UN bodies, such as respect for human rights, transparency, and good governance. Last week, the Secretary was in London for the G7 Foreign and Development Ministerial meeting to underscore multilateralism as the ideal vehicle to address global challenges. He also reiterated our deep concerns regarding China's human rights abuses in Xinjiang, destabilizing activities in the East and South China Seas, and its undermining of Hong Kong democracy. There, he also met with Minister Le Drian to discuss their joint support for peace, security, and democracy in Africa, the Middle East, and Ukraine. In June, the President will attend the G7 summit in Cornwall, where he will also reinforce our commitment to multilateralism, work to advance key U.S. policy priorities on global health, economic recovery, and climate change, and demonstrate solidarity and shared values among major democracies. The President will then go to Brussels to participate in this year's NATO summit, as well as the first US-EU summit since 2014. Engagements like these, whether with the EU, our NATO allies, our G7 partners, or others, are a testament to our commitment to stand shoulder to shoulder with our allies and partners once again. Last Friday, Secretary Blinken addressed the UN Security Council and spoke about the importance of multilateral cooperation. There, he stressed that the international order, built and upheld through multilateral institutions such as the UN and NATO, is responsible for the greatest period of peace, progress, and prosperity in modern history. Our administration is committed to leading with diplomacy to advance the interests of the United States and to strengthen that rules-based international order. That system is not an abstraction. It helps countries resolve differences peacefully, coordinate multilateral efforts effectively, and participate in global commerce with the same assurance that everyone is following the same rules. There has to be a system that regulates how countries interact and how nations relate to one another. And that rules-based order is the one that over the last 75 years has created an environment that has prevented wars between the great powers, and it has created an open, predictable system in which other countries could emerge and millions could be lifted out of poverty. We engage via multilateral institutions not because we think these institutions are perfect, but rather because we know that when America doesn't engage, one of two things is likely to happen. Either others will step up to fill the void, including those who may not share our interests or values, or no one will step up, leaving only chaos. We saw this in the early days of the COVID-19 pandemic, when an absence of U.S. leadership led to our adversaries trying to assert themselves to the detriment of the transatlantic relationship. The entire world has a stake in that multilateral system, and we must protect against those who seek to undermine its foundations or question the values upon which it is based. That means insisting that member states and international bodies uphold and abide by their commitments, whether those commitments are to nuclear non-proliferation and disarmament, protection of the environment, free and fair global commerce, or protection of human rights. We must live up to them. That is the definition of a rules-based order. These are the rules that nations have voluntarily and collectively agreed upon, and they must be upheld. We must also acknowledge that this system, at its core, is premised on human rights and human dignity for every individual. Self-determination, equal rights, and ensuring respect for the fundamental freedoms of every person are essential to realizing the peaceful and friendly relations between states. A challenge to those values cannot go unchecked, lest it harm the foundation for peace and prosperity that we have built together. Last Friday, the Secretary recommitted the United States to upholding the rules-based order of our international system and pledged to work multilaterally to tackle new challenges. When we think about virtually all of the problems and challenges that are affecting the lives of our citizens, whether COVID-19, climate, disruption by emerging technologies, not a single one can be dealt with by any one country acting alone, even the United States. It is for this reason that we have a profound stake in the success of the multilateral system, and why the United States, working in close partnership with allies and partners, both traditional and non-traditional, is intensifying our efforts to respond to and deter behaviors that represent an assault on the values, norms, and principles that underpin the system we founded together. We are committed to the international rules-based order, and that is at the heart of our peace and prosperity. I know this organization shares that commitment. The work you are doing is profoundly important, and I thank you again for welcoming me here today.